I've worked the night shift at the hospital for 3 years. It's an old building, brick walls, faded linoleum, and hallways that groan like they carry memories. Most nights are quiet. Most nights are normal. But then there are other nights, like you can feel the building itself holding its breath. It started on a Tuesday. I was finishing my rounds in Ward C when I saw him. A man in a hospital gown, wandering aimlessly near room 14. At first, I thought he was a patient, lost or confused. But his movements were odd. His feet didn't touch the floor naturally. He drifted, almost gliding, and when I called out, his head slowly turned toward me, and then he vanished. I blinked, shook my head. Maybe I was too tired. The next night, I saw him again. Same hallway, same hospital gown, same drifting motion. This time I followed him, keeping my distance around each corner, hoping to catch him, but nothing. The hallway stretched out empty, my pulse thumping in my ears. Then came the whispers, soft, almost indistinguishable at first. Go back, don't look, don't follow. I froze, every nerve in my body screaming. I knew no one else was around. The security cameras didn't show him either. I started digging into the old patient records, thinking maybe someone had done something tragic in Ward C, something that could explain this. That's when I found him. Harold Greaves, admitted in 1976, died in Ward C after a sudden heart attack. The notes described him wandering the hall, disoriented, searching for someone he never found. I told myself it was just fatigue. Old hospitals make strange noises. Shadows can trick your mind. But then the janitor handed me a VHS tape he'd found in the basement, dusty and forgotten. Found this in the archives, he said, his hands shaking slightly. I watched. My blood ran cold. There he was, wandering the hallway in the same hospital gown, same aimless pace, and the timestamp read March 12th, 1982, years after he had died. After that, I requested a transfer. I don't work nights in Ward C anymore. But sometimes, when I walk past the hospital, I swear I see him through a window, standing silently in the hall, waiting. And I wonder, how many nights am I still late to my own shift, walking these same empty corridors, unseen, just like him? Some nights, I hear faint whispers over the phone from a friend still working there. He's back again, they say, and I know I'll never forget the sound of footsteps drifting past me in a hallway where no one else walks. Because the hospital remembers. And Harold, he never left. Hospitals always unsettled me. The hum of fluorescent lights, the smell of antiseptic that could never mask the undertone of sickness. But tonight, I was here for my sister. She had been in a car accident, nothing fatal, but bad enough to keep her overnight. When I stepped into her room, she was asleep. I sat down, relieved. For the first time that day, I felt the tension leave my shoulders. I had been there around 20 minutes when I heard a noise. I walked out of her room, then I noticed the figure. At the end of the hallway, past the nurse's station, a woman stood barefoot. Her hospital gown was stained with something dark and wet, her hair tangled, clinging to her face like strands of seaweed. She didn't move. She didn't blink. She just stared. I turned to the nurse walking by, but when I looked back, the hallway was empty. She smiled politely and kept moving. I tried to shake it off. Lack of sleep, stress, the hospital's oppressive atmosphere. But when I stepped back into my sister's room, that was when the air shifted. The warmth bled from the room as if someone had opened a freezer door. I could see my own breath clouding in the dim light. And then, chillingly, my sister's as well. She stirred in her sleep, shivering. The fluorescent lights flickered, buzzing angrily before steadying again. The heart monitor at her side gave a sudden, sharp spike, though she hadn't moved. I called my sister's name, reaching for her hand, but froze when the plastic chair in the corner scraped slowly across the floor by itself. The IV bag swayed on its stand, though no one had touched it. The cold deepened. Papers fell from the counter, swirling in a circle before dropping flat. The curtain by the door rippled as though someone had slipped silently inside. But there was no one there. Just me, my sister, and the suffocating certainty that we weren't alone. I pressed the nurse's call button, but when the nurse came to check, the room had returned to normal. I asked her if they ever had complaints of strange things happening on that hospital floor. That's when she told me the story of the drowning girl. According to the nurse, 12 years ago, a woman who had been in a boating accident was brought in and had been stabilized. She was put in the room at the end of the hall. During the night, she passed away, and now her spirit roams the halls. When I woke from surgery, the first thing I noticed wasn't the pain in my knee, it was the silence. The recovery room was dim, lit only by the weak glow of a monitor beside me. My leg was heavy, wrapped in bandages, my head clouded from anesthesia. I expected to hear nurses moving about, voices in the hallway, the clatter of carts. Instead, there was nothing, just the steady beat of my heart. I tried to sit up, but the room swam. That's when I noticed the curtain across from me swaying gently, though there was no draft. I pressed the call button. No one came. Then I saw her. A pale woman in a hospital gown, skin gray, drifted past the doorway. Her eyes were closed, lips slightly parted as if whispering something I couldn't hear. She didn't walk. She slid, feet never touching the floor. I told myself it was the anesthesia, my mind tricking me. But the air grew colder, prickling my skin. The monitor beside me crackled. For a moment, the steady beeping sped into a frantic staccato, though I hadn't moved. The screen flickered, letters and numbers scrambling. I mashed the call button again, harder this time. Still no answer. The curtain at my bedside shifted. I froze. Someone was on the other side. I could hear it, breathing, low and rattling, like lungs filled with water. The fabric bulged inward, as though a hand pressed against it. My own hand shook as I reached for the curtain. Before I could touch it, it snapped open on its own. No one was there. The bed across from mine was empty, sheets neatly tucked. But the pillow bore the indentation of a head, as though someone invisible still lay there, watching me. The overhead lights flickered once, then died, plunging the room into darkness. I could only hear the hiss of the oxygen line, the beeping of the monitor, and that wet, rattling breath growing closer. I closed my eyes, praying to pass out again, but the cold fingers that brushed my hand were all too real. When the lights blinked back on, the sheets on the bed across from me were messed up, as if someone had been laying in it, and the imprint on the pillow was gone. I hadn't been home in over 2 years. Things weren't the same since my sister's fatal car accident 3 years ago. But with my 15-year high school reunion coming up, there were a lot of friends I wanted to reconnect with. A November chill was setting in by the time I got to Mom and Dad's around 4 on Friday and unpacked for the weekend. We went to dinner that night, and the next day we visited and enjoyed each other's company. As best we could, there was a definite void now. Hannah was my older sister and had always been the light in the room. She was always having fun, never complaining, and she never seemed to be in a bad mood. It really hit the family hard when she was killed. Later that night, I went out to my class reunion and saw so many friends I had drifted apart from. It was great getting to catch up and hear stories of how their lives were unfolding. Sunday, after having lunch and spending a few more hours with Mom and Dad, I packed and left. I couldn't come all this way without stopping by the cemetery and leaving some flowers for Hannah. As difficult as it is to visit knowing I'll never hear her voice or see her smile, I just wanted to let her know I'm still here and still trying to find the guy that ran her off the road. The sun was beginning to set when I pulled in. I had taken too long saying my goodbyes to Mom and Dad, but no matter, I was taking as much time as I needed, even if the darkness tried to hurry me up. I sat on the ground next to her headstone and talked. It had been about 10 or 15 minutes. That's when I heard it. Crunch. Footsteps on the gravel path behind me. I turned, expecting to see someone else visiting late, or maybe a groundskeeper. But there was no one. Then came a low breathing, wet, rattling, animal-like. It wasn't close, but it wasn't far either. I stood up, my pulse quickening. "Hello," I called. Nothing. Then something moved. I caught just a glimpse of it. It made a horrific sound like nothing I had ever heard. I ran. I don't even remember which way I went, just that I tripped over a grave marker and felt breath on the back of my neck. Cold, reeking of something dead. I scrambled up and sprinted to the car. Whatever it was, followed, slamming against the back of the car. That's when I saw this dark, iridescent figure. It screamed, shattering every window in my car. Then it stopped and turned away, just as I thought I heard Hannah's voice. I stomped on the gas, spinning tires on the gravel as I raced out of the cemetery. I drove back to Mom and Dad's, telling them what happened. I don't think they believed me. I'm not sure I would believe me either, even though they couldn't explain the shattered windows in my car. My big sis saved me from something that day, and now I wonder, am I trying to find a person or thing that put her there? It was a quiet Wednesday afternoon, blue sky, empty paths, the scent of spring in the air. Most days I take my lunch to the park just to get away from the noise of work. That day, the noise came to me. A yellow school bus pulled up, and a swarm of children, 15 or 20 of them, maybe around 10 years old, came spilling out, laughing and shouting. 3 adults stepped off. I assumed they were teachers. One waved a clipboard, trying to keep some order, but the kids were off and running, spreading across the grass like wildflowers. There wasn't an empty spot on the playground. Kids were climbing the monkey bars, on the swing sets, playing tag and volleyball. That's when a young boy hit the ball too hard, and it rolled over at my feet. "I'm sorry, mister," he said, as he came jogging over. "That's all right," I said. "Where are you all from?" "Willow Creek Elementary, sir." "Marcus," one of the teachers yelled. "Back over here." "Okay, Ms. Burton," he shouted. "I have to go. This is our last trip before we go home." "Well, don't let me keep you." "Have fun," I said as he ran back to the playground. I finished my lunch and went back to work. That evening when I got home and turned on the news, the headline was about the tragic accident on Route 15. A school bus carrying Ms. Burton's 4th grade class from Willow Creek Elementary was struck by a semi and forced off the road around 10 a.m. This morning, all passengers, including 3 adult chaperones, were killed. Authorities confirmed the children were en route to a scheduled field trip at Greenway Park. I dropped my cup. Greenway Park. It can't be. I saw their faces, heard their laughter. I even talked to one of them, but they never made it. I went back to the park the next day and saw hundreds of flowers and memorial signs. And there, next to the bench where I sat yesterday, was a volleyball.
It was supposed to be fun. Just me and 3 of my best friends, Emma, Tori, and Jasmine, renting a haunted cabin in Savannah for spring break. We were all into ghost shows and TikTok paranormal stuff and figured, why not live it for real? The listing leaned into it. Historic Southern manor with a mysterious past. We thought it was campy. A joke. It wasn't. The place was beautiful, but something felt off. Emma joked that the house watched us. On the second night, Tori dared us to do a seance. We lit candles, held hands, and called out to whatever might be listening. Nothing happened. On the third night, we tried again. We were goofing off at first. drinking and laughing. But then, something answered. The candle flames flickered, but there wasn't a breeze. Every door slammed shut all at once. Jasmine screamed. She said she saw someone standing behind me. The house went dark. We tried to get out, but the doors wouldn't open. We all ran and huddled together on the couch in the living room. Something spoke. It sounded like a woman's voice, but none of us were sure and no one could understand what it was saying. The couch began to shake as if whatever it was wanted us off of it. We screamed and ran to the kitchen looking for a knife or something to try and defend ourselves with, but the drawers and cabinets wouldn't open. Then we saw her. An image of a woman in a dark flowing gown floated down the hall and disappeared into one of the bedrooms. The electricity came back on and everything was quiet. Emma went over and opened the back door. She stood guard as me, Tori, and Jasmine retrieved our things from the bedroom. We got to the car and drove all night back home. We don't talk about that night or that trip, and we never found out who or what we saw.
So when I was 16, I went to a birthday party of a girl I knew in school. We weren't what I would call friends, but we knew each other and had mutual friends. We would talk sometimes in class, but that was about all. Anyway, I picked up a friend of mine and his girlfriend who lived close to the birthday girl's house to go to the party. After a while, my friend asked if any of us wanted to go hang out at the waterfall. I had never been and was curious, so I told him I was in. It ended up only being me, my friend, and his girlfriend. Looking back, I see now what was going on, but at the time I was actually interested in seeing the waterfall. It wasn't far away from the party, but when we got there it was already beginning to get dark. When we arrived, my friend and his girlfriend walked with me over to where we could see the small stream and waterfall, which was cool, but not at all what I was expecting. Again, I now know what was going on. My friend's girlfriend said they were going to see if the water was low enough at the bottom for us to wade across to the other side, and asked if I would be okay waiting by the car in case someone drove up, and to let them know because we weren't supposed to be there after dark. So I went back to the car and leaned up against the driver's side door. I don't remember exactly how much time passed, but it wasn't long before I saw a light. I thought at first it was another car coming down the dirt road, but I couldn't hear a motor. I yelled, letting my friend know I think someone is coming. I watched the light for a couple more minutes. It was a warm yellow color, not like a flashlight or headlight would produce. It was more like a flame flickering. It seemed to sway back and forth as if someone was holding it up in front of them as they walked down the road. I yelled to my friend once again, and he answered they would be there in a minute. I thought to myself, if you want to get caught, that's fine, but I'm not sticking around. I didn't know we weren't supposed to be there in the first place. I waited another minute or so as the light got closer. Then I told them I think someone else is heading this way, and I'm leaving. They came jogging out of the brush with their clothes messed up and proceeded to thank me sarcastically. "Where's the light?" my friend asked. "It's right there," I started but stopped mid-sentence. I don't know where it went. It was right there and getting closer. "Yeah, okay, whatever, man." "No, really," I said. "Look, if you were scared, that's fine." "No, it really was someone walking, I promise." His girlfriend told me I was just playing a trick on them because I was jealous. After we left and went back to the party, my friend told me they could find a ride home with some other friends. I knew he didn't believe me, and because of that it caused bad feelings between us. I apologized several times, but we were never close friends after that. I have never discussed that night with anyone since then. Years later, I was at work talking with a coworker who used to live in the same area as my friend and the girl whose birthday party we went to that night. We were talking about weird noises and strange things people claim to see. He told me he had never seen a ghost, but he believed in them. I said I didn't believe. That's when he told me about the ghost of the train conductor where he grew up. He said the story was that a train conductor stopped to help a man passed out on the tracks, and the man robbed and killed the conductor. Now his ghost wanders the roads trying to find the tracks so he can board his train and finish his journey. I asked my coworker, how did the people describe what they saw? He said people would tell stories about seeing a man from the Confederate era walking up and down the roads carrying a lantern looking for the train tracks that ran nearby. Some of them would describe a man holding the lantern, while others said they would only see a warm yellow light walking towards them, getting closer until they would either go inside or leave. He said sightings were especially common at the old waterfall. I found it odd that I never told him about my experience as a teenager, and now he was describing exactly what I saw. I hate that my friend never believed me, but at least now I wasn't second-guessing myself anymore. I've thought a few times about going back to that waterfall to see if I can figure out what I might have seen that night. However, it has since been fenced off by the owners who were tired of running off horny teenagers. Or maybe the owners know something we don't.